you're a very expressive rider when it comes to, you know, us all knowing what it means to you. Just try and give me a little flavour of it now, if you can, sitting on the sofa rather than sitting in the saddle.
I think if you can't enjoy the big days, then I don't think you should be in those big days. I think they don't come around every day, and yeah, when you get the opportunity like that. So first, I've never had a winner until last year around Cheltenham, and then I won on Harry on the 1st of Jan.
Yeah, New Year's Day, wasn't it? Yeah, so, and then fast forward to this, which was the plate.
Yeah, and to be honest, when we said we had a plan, and it literally worked out to a treat exactly, which never really does. And I just had a dream run round, come to the last thinking, please be a good stride, and it was, and he's kept on galloping all the way to the line, so yeah, look at that, it was brilliant.
You were good there, weren't you?
Yeah, very good, yeah.
And this is a horse who, let's face it, prior to you kind of clicking with him, he was sort of a serial non-winner. And you sort of kept thinking, well, what is it? What is he? What does he want? How, you know, what's going to unlock all his talents?
Yeah, I actually rode him in. So first time out last year, he went to the Ladbroke Trophy and like a stiff 3 mile, 1, 2, and like I don't think he actually probably wants that trip. And so then he came back to Cheltenham then and the plate trip, and he obviously went and won that nicely. And then we went straight back to Cheltenham. So I think everything clicked last year. He was in tremendous form at home, and although he was 9 last year, I think he was 9-10. It just took him a while just to get going, and well, I'm glad it took him a while because I got the opportunity to finally click with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very special moment, one that you'll be wanting to replicate this year. Sadly, you're without the Jukebox Man. How good a horse is he?
It's still early doors. In a sense of feeling-wise, I haven't had the feel like he's given me before. Even the first day, he was electric, and then when he went to Kempton and won, like he was just so professional. You know, I've never experienced that. We were trapping down to the last 3, and he was just so clever.
And he just looks a bit more. He looks a bit more slick and quick this year as well.
Yeah, and like if you remember, he used to hang very badly left. In the latter stages, and that was my only worry going to Kempton, and for whatever reason he didn't do it that day, so hopefully he's just grown up loads, you know, and he'll come back next year a bigger and better horse.
Is the problem a very serious one or not?
No. He'll have a normal summer off like most of the horses, and he'll come back next year and hopefully he'll be none the worse.
And I suppose part of the secret of being a good trainer or being a good jockey who's part of that operation is these things are going to happen, and you've kind of just got to go, OK, we'll look after him the best we can, but we've got another job to do for the next few months.
I think it definitely helps when you got a few horses underneath him in a way to carry you forward, handstand stepping up and winning the Grade 1, and I think things like that definitely help. If you only have one graded horse in the yard and he goes wrong, then you're going to be a bit sour about it, aren't you know, but that's the thing with Ben, everything's so laid back and everything's about the team and the horses and the owners, so it's not the end of the world, you know. They will be back and they will win races, so you know, it's definitely a better position to be in.
And if you think you can celebrate, he can definitely.
He could definitely celebrate. Yeah, no, there's plenty of videos and stuff go around after the big wins and stuff. So I make sure I'm riding the next day, and I can't make it to those ones.
I mean, how conscious were you of the sort of Redknapp effect of that festival win? It kind of heightened the profile of it. Was that something you were very aware of?
Yeah, I think when he won New Year's Day, obviously there was a massive press thing about Harry then, you know. So I think going into Cheltenham and like he went off favourite, I think more because of Redknapp more than anything, you know. So no, and when you're coming back in, then everyone's chanting you and they're saying Redknapp, and yeah, it definitely makes a bit more buzz around the place.
Handstands, of course, you mentioned, he's not going to Cheltenham, he goes to Aintree, but won that terrific battle for the Scilly Isles the other day. How much did you enjoy this one, and in particular, winning such a tight finish?
I enjoyed this day because you had to do the donkey work out in front, and Nico just had one run, came to us, and here I thought...
You're done here, aren't you?
Yeah, I thought he's going to have to dig deep, and to be fair, it was on the jump at the last, and he absolutely winged it. And as soon as I landed and gave him a little flick in, knew he was going to keep on running. And he loved this horse. He tries his heart out, and he's probably not the best horse in the world, but because he tries as hard as he does, that's what carries him through, you know.
So that's interesting, isn't it? So the Jukebox Man is all flash and talent, and this horse is a grafter.
Yeah, he wants knee-high mud and the big drools and like something to eyeball him over the last. Like, he loves that, whereas the Jukebox is a bit more prancy and look at me, you know.
So when you're thinking into the future with a Handstands, where do you sort of see him landing up? The way you're talking suggests that he could kind of run as far as you want him to run.
Yeah, I think they're different. I think Handstands will just gallop all day, and I think Jukebox, like, he won first time out 2.5 mile, grade 2. He has got a bit of class about him, a bit of speed. So I'm hoping we're not going to be bumping into each other and having to pick one of the two, you know. So hopefully we'll make a target next year and we'll keep them separate and we won't have to worry about it.
Now, as I said at the top of the show, we are only 9 days away. Those two aren't there, but Harry probably will be back in something or other, will he?
Yeah. So he's got a few entries back in the plate. He's in the Ultima and he's in the Kim Muir, I think. So.
OK. So you're petitioning for something that's not the Kim Muir, presumably?
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
And has he still got a bit of lead in his pencil?
If you asked me that at the start of the year, after his first run at Cheltenham, I probably would have said no. But since then, he had a spin round Warwick, and he seemed a bit more like Harry. And then we went to Lambourne last week, and I can confirm Harry's back.
Good. Harry is back, so he did a proper piece of work, did he?
He won me.
You're not going to let an amateur on him, are you?
No, I'll be trying my best not to let him run in that. But Ben has his own plan, and I'm sure he'll stick to it. But I would have thought he'll go back to the plate.
Now, when I spoke to the trainer earlier in the week, I sort of said, well, I'm not going to ask you who's going to win at the festival, but who do you think is coming to hand at the right time? And he was very, very clear that Diva Luna was the one.
Yeah.
And I was quite surprised, because obviously she hasn't quite delivered on his expectations this season. Can you help flesh that out for me?
To be honest, I wouldn't have a whole lot to do with her, other than watching her work, watching her school. And this time of year, you know, the mares, a bit of sun in their back, and they're different animals, you know. So she's done her job this year in the sense of she's gone off and won her races, and I know she got beat around Sandown, but that wasn't her. And I think she has got a lot to prove in the sense of along the ratings, but if she comes back to any bit of last year's form, then she is a good mare, you know.
And it's interesting, isn't it, when trainers have that instinct that a horse is a special one, and he was mentioning her at the beginning of the season, and he's mentioning her now. You know, whatever she's done in between, can't quite shake that off.
No, and I think she's another one now. In the last 2 weeks, her coach changed. She's a bit of spring in her step, and I think maybe she just wanted the spring weather, and I think now, like, she went to Lambourne as well and worked really, really well. So, yeah, hopefully she can go and do well. Yeah,
Pick Rock was the other one that he was very sweet on.
Yeah, I'm really excited about him. He hasn't won yet this year. He probably hasn't had the smoothest of runs, but since his last run, he's had one good run. So he went to Lambourne. I schooled him on Thursday. He's never been in the form he's been in, so I think he's got a little bit up his sleeve, and I think he'll have a lot to play. And
it's quite interesting because you've got a choice between going 2.5 miles and over 3.5 miles. You know, it's probably somewhere in between, but
I think he'd definitely. I would say he'd say 3.6, but if we were to do that and he didn't stay the last furlong, we'd look silly. So I would have thought he'll definitely run in the 2.5.
And also, to what extent do you then think, well, if I run in the 3.6 and it doesn't work out, what have I got left?
Exactly. Yeah. So there's no point bottoming him now. He's only young, first year chasing. So if he can always come back and do it next year.
You seem very very relaxed, very composed, enjoying the run that you're having. Do you feel like you're part of the top table now?
Yeah, I think to a degree I do. Like I am one for stats. I love stats, and I love like seeing where everyone is and how they're all doing and whatnot. But like my probably biggest pleasure is, out of all my rides, the percentage of horses that get back in the top 4. I think that's a big role that I play, and I like to give my best on every ride, you know. So if it means finishing 4th on one, which should have finished 6th, then I get a lot of pleasure out of that as well.
And you were talking about the style as well, the go-get 'em style, rather than the sit back and let it unfold. Would you think that that's you? You are a dynamic jockey, a jockey who wants to go forward and make things happen.
Yeah, I've definitely mellowed in the last season. I would have thought I used to be one that you'd turn in no matter what track it was, and as soon as I turned for home, I'd kick him in the belly and send them on. Whereas now, probably riding better horses as well, I'm able to wait a little bit more, and I'm definitely getting that side of things better off this season. So there's obviously a lot more improvement to come, and I'm going to keep on trying to improve. But I think, I'm known for. I get the 3 out and kick him in the belly. That's what I'm known for. But I'm slowly getting out of that.
Yes, I'm not sure that's always used as a compliment, is it?
No, definitely not. No, definitely not. Mind you, I won the Ladbroke Trophy because I did that. So going back as a claimer, I think I was just revved. I think, you know, I just loved riding, and I'd see the fence and I just wanted to attack him.
And that's a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think you're better to be like that than on the backward foot, on the backward step, and not wanting to go forward. So I know, like when I was working for the governor, and like he'd allow me to have 2-3 mornings off a week, and I'd be here, there, and everywhere riding out, trying to put my foot into places, and that's why the likes of Emma and stuff came about, you know.
It's interesting that you are able to give a real appraisal of your own strengths and weaknesses in the saddle. I don't know whether it's a function of the modern rider that they're able to do that, whether you're mentored better, whether you're coached better, whether you speak to more people. But I feel if I'd had that same conversation with someone 10 years ago, they'd have been really chippy about the idea that somebody had ever criticised their riding. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. But this day and age, you've got so much keyboard warriors and stuff on Twitter. If you don't acknowledge it yourself, they're only going to pick up on it and drag you down. So I always think if you've done a mistake or whatever, then hold your hand up and everyone moves on then, you know. So, yeah, like going back to people you speak to and stuff, my old man, I'd speak to him every day, and if I rode a winner, he'd say something I've done wrong before saying well done, you know. So
and then, but does it work the other way?
Yeah.
If you're really down in the dumps, you think you've given one a shocker, would he then turn that on its head?
If I did give it a shocker, he'd definitely say
you gave it a shocker. Yeah.
So, but then obviously you move on. You know, you can't dwell on the things that's past, and I think that's why. Like, I'm only 25 and I'm #1 for Ben, and I think a lot of other lads, it would get to you, and I can see how it would. And I think myself, I'm just go with the flow, level-headed, and I wouldn't really let anything get to me. So I think that's why I'm quite good in this position in a way.
How much of West Wales is still in you, informs what you do?
In my heart, still 100%. Like, obviously, I've moved away now for 8 or 9 years. I'll always be Welsh bred, always be Welsh in my heart. Do
you feel it quite strongly? Do you feel that sense of identity quite strongly?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. It hurts me that I live in England in a way.
Does it really?
Yeah. Not because I'm living in England or got nothing against English people or whatever. Like, I'm married to an English girl, got a little daughter. And like, my home is England now, you know. So, but in my heart, home would always be West Wales.
Those ties bind quite strongly, don't they?
Yeah.
So what is it about that community that's a little bit different to what you might be used to here?
Nothing major. It sounds silly. Like, if we went for a ride at home now, or walk down the road or whatever, you'd walk down the road, and like in Wales, you'd stop every person you see, and we'd have a conversation for 5 minutes. You wouldn't get very far. Whereas when I first moved down here, everything was a bit morning, and they just kind of look at you and walk away, you know. And I think the Welsh community is just so relaxed, and everyone, like you say, you're just speaking, and everyone's just friendly, you know.
Is Welsh your first language?
Yeah.
And do you get the chance to use it much?
No, so I went to full Welsh school. It's funny, really, because when Dad does a few of the Welsh interviews and stuff like that, and he's always on the phone, can I do this and that? But I can understand a conversation and tell you exactly what they've said.
Yeah.
I'd struggle now to reply in Welsh. I'd have to think about it hard, but I'd understand the full conversation.
But when you were a kid growing up, was it spoken in the house?
Yeah, so Dad's fluent Welsh. He was first Welsh, and so Mums can speak a little bit of Welsh and understand everything. So it was, we spoke mostly English growing up, but on Mum's side of family, it was all Welsh. This might not be a conversation you want to have here, but would it ever be a dream to go back when the kids are grown up or whatever? Or I would, but I'd say I'll end up living in England for the rest of my life.
Very diplomatically put.
Yeah.
Ben Jones, you're going to stay with us, but for the moment, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.